Hello everyone, my name is Ken, and the purpose of this video is to remind myself about the loot system that I just finished working on. So, let's get into it. So how does it work? So, in the world, we have a bunch of these points. This is one of them by this helicopter, but I have a bunch others. This is a blueprint right now, and in this blueprint, there is a component called a loot spawn point component. The purpose of this is to just simply tell the loot system where it is in the world and what the category of loot that this loot point is supposed to be spawning. So you can see here it says that the category is loot table weapons. This is using gameplay tags. So this is set up to, you can create as many as we need to. Right now I just have armor, civilian house clothing, trees, and weapons. So this one here, I want to spawn the weapons category. Okay, so what does that mean? Let's look at the spawn point component. So actually, I'll show this real fast. The weapons tag here corresponds to the data asset here. So you can see it's called weapons. Uh, this data asset has a 50-50 chance of either spawning a AK or some armor. You can see that there's the name of the item row that we want to spawn, and then the weight of that spawn. So it could be 50-50. You can reduce it so that way maybe like a sniper rifle is, much harder to get as far as like the loot roll. So the component, its only job is to basically tell the loot subsystem um, that information, where I am in the world, and the category of loot that I'm supposed to spawn. So when it does that, there is also, here, let's go to the loot types real quick. So actually not the loot types, this one here, the structure that's going to be carrying this data around. So we have a new strut here called spawn point data. And in this strut, we have a spawn point component, which I just showed here. So this component here, which is representative of this point in the world, we're going to have multiple states that this spawn point could have. So these are the states: empty, occupied, or cooldown. We start off with an empty state, so that means that this spawn point will spawn into the world with this category, and it starts off as an empty state. There's no loot. Um, if there, if when it does spawn loot, we'll track what it was, and if it's still there, and if it's not, we'll do a cooldown. So there's a spawn ready time. So maybe we want to not spawn anything for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. That's what controls that. The component is responsible for registering itself with the loot system and then unregistering itself during end play. This is important because if you're going to support open worlds, you need to be able to stream um, the landscape coordinates in and out. As you move away from certain coordinates, they get streamed out of the world and then they come back as you get closer. So we just unregister when that happens, and when it gets spawned back in, or I'm sorry, when it gets streamed back in, we re-register it. So the loot subsystem itself, this is where all of the main data lives. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I'll give a high level like overview of how this works. So um, this is a world subsystem, and there's only one of them, and it's only spawned on the server. And that happens, well, it happens here. Then during on world begin play, we will do a tick every X seconds. So we set up a timer, and then we have a tick that we run. And right now I have this set to every 5 seconds, but in theory, or actually in practice, this should be much higher. So every 5 seconds right now, we run tick. And oh, before we go into tick, let me just quickly show when a component registers itself with us, we just do some tag validating, and then we are basically going to register it in this map. This is a master map of all active spawn points, and it's grouped by their tag. And then when we unregister that spawn point, we just remove it from that map. So yeah, and then during tick, basically we just get the time, and we do these three state checks. Basically, we want to make sure that whether or not the point is occupied, and if the state is occupied, we make sure that the actor that's there is still valid. If it's not, then we flip the state to a cooldown. And then we do the cooldown, and then this basically just checks what the current time is versus the ready time. And if we reach that, then we will change the state to an empty state. And then during empty state, this is where all of the like the spawn logic happens. So what we're doing is we're making sure that things are valid, obviously, and then we're going to check the player's location, and we're going to see whether or not the player's within range. And if they are nearby, we won't spawn anything. As soon as they walk away, then we do the spawn roll. So you could either spawn, you know, like we said earlier, the AK or the armor, or nothing at all, and that happens here. We are gonna try and spawn the item in using the tag name. So what we do is, this is called loot table weapons. So we get the last word of the tag, which is called weapons, and that's how we link it to this here. We say, all right, this is weapons. We need to go to the weapons data asset, and then we need to pull from that. And then whatever we pull from that, we'll ask the item subsystem to spawn that into the world, and that's how that works. Um, yeah, that's there's some helper functions here that do that. This is the function that pulls the tag name, and then yeah, then there we got some functionality here to spawn from that table. Yeah, a lot of stuff in here. I think that's it as far as code. Let me go ahead and do just like a quick demo. So we'll load into the game. Now, if I run over to the helicopter, there probably won't be anything because I'm kind of close. So you can see there's nothing there. But if I run into the house, maybe I was far enough away, there might be some loot in here. I was. So there's a bandage right here. So I can grab that. There is a loot point here, but you can see there's nothing here. Sometimes there's loot, sometimes there's not. I do have this on a very fast cooldown, so every 60 seconds it re-rolls. But in practice, that would be much higher. I know there's some loot over here by this tree that spawns like an apple. It didn't spawn it this time. So we're just getting kind of unlucky. But we can go back to the helicopter and check now. We've been far enough away that something probably spawned. Let's see. Yep. So there we go. We got a gun. So I can't actually pick the gun up because I have this in my hands, but I can grab it now. There's a little bug there. It's not showing up in my vicinity. Let's see. Okay, gotta fix that. So let me grab the gun, put it here. There we go. I can equip my gun. Can unequip it. And one last check in the house. Let's see if there's anything spawn here. Yep, a backpack. So that's how the system works. Every 60 seconds, these spawn points are going to get re-rolled. And based on the category that it's set, it's going to spawn from those lists. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole system. I have a bunch of spawn points out in the world that spawn like apples and weapons and things like that. So yeah, I think that's all I got for tonight. Thanks for watching.